to Secrets Beneath Gilgo Beach, Part 3, Final Chapter. The storm that uncovered Shannan Gilbert's phone had passed, but the waves hadn't stopped whispering her name. The shoreline was different now, colder, quieter, like it was holding its breath. Everyone thought the story was over, that the 12th marker, the carved words number 12, was the end. But it wasn't. It was an invitation. 2 weeks after the empty burlap sack was found, the FBI received a flash drive in an unmarked envelope. No fingerprints, no return address, just the word truth scratched into the plastic. When agents opened the files, they found a single folder labeled Gilgo Archive. Inside were dozens of images, crime scene photos, unreleased autopsy reports, transcripts, and one short video clip. The footage began with static, then a flicker. The camera focused on a dimly lit basement, concrete floor, plastic sheeting, old medical tools hanging from rusted hooks. A voice off-screen spoke quietly, almost soothingly. They never looked in the right place. The lens shifted toward a table. There, laid out neatly, were 11 Polaroids, each one showing a woman, and beside them, a 12th half-burned, face obscured. The voice continued. They thought it was one man. It wasn't. The footage ended with a shot of a document tacked to the wall. Suffolk County Task Force, internal use only. It wasn't from the past. The date printed in the corner was only 3 months earlier. Someone still inside the system had those files. Someone who knew everything. The FBI launched a new covert operation, reassembling what remained of the original evidence, digital, fragmented, salvaged from the ashes of the burned storage facility. Agents traced the metadata of the flash drive to a library computer in Montauk, the same one that had uploaded the Morse video months earlier. The pattern wasn't coincidence. It was choreography. That's when the final twist hit. A surveillance photo from the library's security camera caught a woman entering just minutes before the files were uploaded. Her head down, hood up, carrying a small backpack. Investigators enhanced the image. The face was grainy, but the jawline, the eyes, familiar. It was unmistakable. Colleen Breen, the crime scene tech who vanished. She wasn't dead, and she wasn't hiding. In a new anonymous message to a journalist sent from an encrypted account, she broke her silence. The message read like a confession and a warning at once. They made me collect the evidence. They made me erase it. It was never one killer. It was 3. One collected, one cleaned, one buried. Hackett was the face. Morse was the watcher. But the one who planned it, he wore the badge longest. The FBI cross-referenced Breen's claim with new forensic data from the recovered items, the revolver, the ID badges, the single strand of hair. DNA cross-contamination was minimal, but enough remained to pull a profile. The results stunned the Bureau. It matched a retired police chief, James Burke, the same chief who'd covered up his own scandal years before. The same man who'd dismantled the original task force and buried evidence from public view. Burke had always claimed he'd had nothing to do with Gilgo, but the proof said otherwise. Breen's message continued. Burke ran the show. He had access, authority, protection. When the press got too close, they fed them Hoyerman. They needed a face to feed the machine. But the dunes never forget. Check the marsh under marker 12. Within 24 hours, agents descended on the location. It was early morning, fog low and thick. Drones hovered as ground teams dug near the wooden fence. The sand turned wet and dark as they unearthed something heavy, metal, sealed tight. Inside the container, police found the impossible. Files, hard drives, photos, every missing piece of the Gilgo puzzle. Hundreds of images showing crime scenes, surveillance photos, and internal memos, each signed and time-stamped during Burke's tenure. Among the files, one photo in particular froze everyone in place. It showed Shannan Gilbert, alive, standing beside an unmarked police SUV, fear in her eyes, looking directly into the camera. The date stamp, the night she'd disappeared. The implications were devastating. Shannan hadn't stumbled into the killer's path by chance. She'd witnessed something she was never meant to see. One agent described the moment as like watching the entire investigation collapse into itself. Because now, the truth was inescapable. The monster wasn't a shadowy figure stalking the dunes. It was the system itself. Burke was taken into custody. Cameras swarmed as he was led from his home in cuffs, refusing to speak. But as investigators combed through the newly uncovered evidence, a darker realization emerged. The killings didn't stop after Burke's retirement, meaning someone else was still carrying the torch. The team went back to Breen's final words. It was 3. Hackett was dead. Morse was gone. Burke was in custody. So who was left? Hidden in the metadata of the files, one name kept repeating. Encrypted tags, usernames, and email aliases connected to uploads and messages about the case. Each one contained the same string. Row 102. Dana Rowe, the journalist who vanished. She wasn't a victim. She was the archivist. When FBI digital forensics traced the server logs, they discovered the anonymous leaks, the flash drives, the number 12 photos. All came from a signal bouncing off encrypted networks routed through Rowe's old equipment. She'd never stopped investigating. She'd gone underground, collecting evidence from inside. And the most shocking part, her last podcast episode, the one that cut off mid-recording, was found intact on one of the recovered drives. In the audio, Dana's voice was steady, urgent. They think the story's over, but it isn't. The beach still holds what they couldn't burn. There's another name, someone we all missed, someone watching every step of this investigation, feeding both sides. When this goes live, they'll come for me. But that's okay, because now everyone will know. Then, faintly, another voice, unmistakably male. You were never supposed to make it this far. Gunshot. Static. End of recording. The clip went public the next day. The internet erupted. Overnight, number 12 trended worldwide. Protesters flooded Suffolk County demanding accountability. Forensics labs confirmed the authenticity of the files. Within a month, an independent commission exposed decades of corruption, falsified reports, and destroyed evidence tied to multiple cases, not just Gilgo. The official narrative shattered. In early 2025, the state declared the Gilgo investigation concluded. Burke charged with obstruction, conspiracy, and evidence tampering. Hackett posthumously tied to the cover-up. Morse declared missing, presumed dead. But for Shannan Gilbert's family, closure was hollow. Her mother, still clutching that old photo, said in an interview, "They can bury the files, but they can't bury her voice." And maybe she's right, because 2 nights after the case was closed, a new post appeared on the same encrypted channel that once hosted the killer's videos. It was short, just a 6-second clip. The camera pans across the beach at night, the wind howling, and a voice whispers through static. You finally found them. Now find me. The GPS data attached to the post traced not to Gilgo Beach, but to Fire Island, 10 miles east. And there, buried in the dune grass, investigators discovered one final item, a weathered police badge, the number worn away by salt and sand. Taped to the back, a note scrawled in fading ink, number 13. Then silence. The sea roared against the shore like it was laughing. The wind carried the sound of footsteps, or maybe waves, or maybe something else entirely. And just like that, the beach swallowed another secret. Note, the Gilgo Beach murders may have been officially closed, but every time the tide shifts, fragments of the truth rise back to the surface. Because some stories never really end. They just wait to be found again.